Good morning again. Well, like I said before, one of the things that I like to do in the progression of refinishing the gun is I like to get the wood done early. Takes the longest because first of all you have to strip it, then you have to prepare it for staining, and by prepare it for staining, if you're going to stain it, you have to make sure you get as much of the oil out as you can. You have to smooth the surface off after the staining. A lot of times the grain has risen up, and you want to try to get it as smooth as you can. Um, and then after you stain it, then you might have to do two coats of stain, and then the finishes that I put on, whether it's the boiled linseed, whether it's um, the tung oil, or lately I've been doing some true oil, which I'll talk about when the time comes. Uh, and it takes days because you have to wait in between each coat for it to dry. So, and that's the time that you can take to do the rest of it. Yesterday we took things apart and soaked them, and I spent yesterday afternoon cleaning all those parts. So we're going to do some bluing of those parts. Anyway, back to the stocks. The stocks came out looking really good. There was some slight oil parts. You can't really see them very much anymore. Well, there's a couple little stripes right here. Um, I used some sandpaper on them, or in that, actually sandpapered the whole thing, and it lessened the the visibility of them to the point where what we're going to do, the stain that we're going to use today is not an oil stain. It's not a stain that's absorbed into the wood, and it's not really going to show. Well, it absorbs a little bit, but it's not really going to show any of the minor imperfections. So I feel comfortable leaving it the way it is. So what I've done here is I've already sanded, just a light touch of sanding. Then I took some steel wool and I used the steel wool and wiped it down just to get it nice and smooth. Then what I did was I took an alcohol on a rag and I wiped it down with alcohol just to get all the sawdust and if there's any pieces of steel wool that do come off. And because you don't want to leave that stuff on the steel wool anyway. You don't want to leave that stuff on the wood because eventually, when it's embedded into your finish, what happens is it can rust, and you'll have these little rust spots, and that's not good. So, without further ado, let me grab a couple of gloves here. Okay, the stains that we're going to use today, there's different types of ways that people color wood, and one of them is stain. Uh, and what I have here, it's called gel stain. It's thicker. It's about the consistency of pudding. It's latex based, I believe, so it's not exactly an oil stain, and it's not exactly going to get absorbed into the wood like an oil stain would. It looks nice. It, one of the nice things about it is it dries within a couple hours, so you can put on a second coat. Um, and it's good for a lot of times. I use it on stuff that it's not exactly a homogeneous color, and it kind of smooths over and makes the color look a lot more even than it was. I also use it on wood that's very absorbent because very absorbent wood will pull all the stain in, and it can turn out to be blotchy or whatever. So I use the gel stain. And today what we're going to use is we're going to start out with Brazilian rosewood. Brazilian rosewood obviously is going to have a little bit of red in it, a rose colored red in it, and so that should look nice. And then on top of that, I put some just plain walnut, and so you can see it'll be darker. and it'll have those tones of the rosewood in it underneath. So it looks pretty good. It looks pretty nice. It's a color that's been requested. So we I try to wear gloves, or remember to wear gloves when I'm doing staining, because I mean the shit gets inside your on not only on your skin but into your nail beds. I work for the time being part time as a massage therapist, and nobody wants to see go get a massage from somebody who has has the stain on their hands. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up the stain. Now what I use, you can use a rag, you can use whatever you want to use to put the stuff on. But what I use is called, I had them here, there. These are birchwood casey swabs. Use them for putting on stain. You put them on you can use them for putting on the bluing remover, stain, rust remover. You use them for a lot of different things. And what they are basically is it's like a cotton ball on a piece of wire, and you can take and you can just put it on. It doesn't take long. Okay, I'm going to continue on with this with both pieces. Just try to get it on there evenly. And get the one side done. And do the other side. This stuff you can't leave on for too long. Sometimes for a thicker or deeper color, using the oil stain, I'll leave it on sometimes for 15-20 minutes to make sure that it gets a nice deep rich color. But okay, we got this. This I usually leave on for about 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes at the most, because it'll start drying, and then that's bad. So there we go. That's that. I'm gonna put it down here for now, out of the way. And we're going to do the forend. And there we are. So now we're going to let it sit for about 5 or 10 minutes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to it. Okay, the stain dried on the guns, and I did not like the way it came out. The gel stain that I used, it was dark, obviously, and these are stocks, and they covered up the grain. And beautiful wood, Winchester had beautiful wood, but it's not a very deep grain. So what happened was it covered it up, most of it, and I just didn't like the way it came out. So I took it off, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some light sanding on it. Make sure that you got to be careful of the ends, because you're going to have to, you want it to square up against the butt plate. So that's the way I do it. Have to see what you saw there. That's my shit. Let me try it. Okay. I'm sorry. I've been told that without trying. As my Parkinson's progresses, my filters are also retreating. So it's kind of fun in a way, but these videos are made for adults, so okay, just a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe them down. Take a look at it. Down. I'm going to take a little bit of alcohol, just as a solution to wipe these down with, and the alcohol dries pretty quick too, so you don't have to wait forever. You can see sawdust. Well, maybe not, but there's what I'm doing is taking the sawdust off of the wood. Sometimes I think I need to get better lighting because I always say, well, I don't know if you can see this or not. I'd like to get it so that you guys can see it. Okay, so we're done with that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a product. It's called True Oil, and I never used it really much before, but I used it on a gun, one of the last guns that I did, and it came out really nice. It forms like a glass finish on the guns. It fills in the grain, and it accentuates the grain, and it makes it look really professional, like brand new gun. So I'm going to try that, and this is a long and involved process with the True Oil. It can take 10, 15 different coats of it, and since it's late, it's 5 o'clock. I'm hoping that I'll be able to get another coat in today. So the way you have to put it on with your hands is the way, because you want to make sure that you rub it in real good. So what you do is you just put a couple of drops on your finger, and you rub it in. And you rub it in real good. They say that and I did, you just put a hole in the top of your thing so it doesn't come pouring out when you're trying to use it. The first couple coats you want to put on a little bit thicker than so. There you go. Put it on. So what you want to do is keep rubbing it in until it starts getting a little sticky. But anyway. So there you go. And what this is doing is it's going down inside the pores and inside the grain, and it's going to start filling it. It can take 2 or 3 coats before it starts really filling in the areas that you want to fill in. Okay, so it's a little bit shiny already. It's when it dries, it's a little duller, but not a lot duller because it's it isn't oil. So there we go with that part. It has some linseed oil in it, so it's going to darken the wood just a bit. Just a little bit. Rub it in good. You can start to see the grain is starting to pop out a little bit, and it will pop out. I'm usually not a shiny gun type person. I prefer the shiniest I prefer is like a tung oil or linseed oil. But this was a request, so we'll make it happen. Yeah, that green is starting to come out nice. Hopefully it's not too glary. Anyway. Now for this stuff, you're going to want to put 5 or 6 coats at least of this stuff on. And they say that you should wait anywhere between 2 hours and 24 hours before you put on your next coat. What you want to do is just make sure that it's dry. And if you put too much on, then it's going to take forever for it to dry. Oh, yeah. It's going to be pretty. Winchester has such nice wood that they put on their guns. Especially, well, on their 94s anyway. They in the later years they didn't necessarily put on the greatest wood, but they certainly took pride in the stocks that they put on the guns. Okay, now we just let that dry, and depending on the humidity, it'll determine how long it takes for this to dry. Let's see what the humidity is. 65%. It's going to take a while for it to dry. It doesn't take much, and the reason is because you have to put on so many coats that that's the reason you have to put on so many coats, is because of the amount that you put on. So we'll be at this for days. Hopefully I can get 2 coats a day in. I mean, my day usually starts around 2, and so even if it's 12 hours in between coats, I still will have time to do that. So we'll get that done. One thing I wanted to show you what I was doing also while this stuff was drying, the original stain that I put on there was drying, was I've learned how to electroplate, and this is nickel that I electroplated on this trigger, and we'll go over that process. I'll do a video on that whole process. It's very simple, and I think it'll add a nice accent to this guy's gun. I mean to the gun, and I think it'll look pretty cool. So we'll see how it does. That's it for the stocks for today. Like I said, I'm gonna try later on. It's after 5. We'll see if I can get another coat of this stuff on. What you do is, in between coats, you take some the fine steel wool and you just rub it so that it's nice and smooth, and then you put the next coat on. It makes it nice and smooth, but it also makes it so that that the next coat has something to grab onto to make that can see already where it's drying, and the pores are still there, obviously, but we'll make that happen and make it look good. After 5, one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to take and try to polish out some of the move this over here. Today I'm going to try to polish out some of the pitting. I don't know how much of the pitting I can get rid of, but I'm going to use some oil, some sandpaper, and see what I can do. The inside has some rusting also, but I think before I do any of that, I'm going to work on the barrel itself and the receiver. I know you can't see inside. It would be cool if you could. Well, you can. It does. It's not too bad. Man, can you see? You can see there's some crap in there, but you can see there's also rifling in there. And man, that's cool. How close can I get it? There you go. It's inside the barrel. And so I think I'll be able to clean it out. There, I don't think you can see that. You can't really see it that good, but the chamber has some rust in it, a little bit of the surface rust. And I'm going to scrub that out. We went over that before, where you stick the stuff on the end of a drill and you just keep till it's nice and shiny. And I'm going to do that today too. So that's what I'm planning on doing. But thank you.